Hello everyone and welcome back to the Timeline Astrology podcast. This is Gary O'Toole and this is all about the new moon on October 21st. This is a new moon in sidereal and tropical Libra, and this is where we find the bright star Spica or Spica, however you want to pronounce it, the lunar mansion in Indian astrology called Citrā. Citrā is what I call the brilliant one or the bright one. It is symbolized by a jewel, sometimes by a pearl or just a bright shining jewel, because Spica is a very bright star in our night sky. And so this is one of the main points about this dark moon, a new moon in Libra, because to see the stars, the bright stars, even the brightest stars, we need darkness. So that's this new moon in a nutshell. It is the festival of lights in the Indian calendar, which is essentially the darkest time of the year, astrologically speaking, energetically, as it were. It's not the darkest night or the longest night, obviously, until the winter solstice, but it's the darkest in a sense because the sun, which represents our vitality and energy and confidence and self-assuredness, is in its weakest sign. It's in its fallen sign in Libra. And then the moon is dark. And then the moon after the new moon, a couple of days, on the 24th, 25th, 26th, is in its weakest sign also in Scorpio. So we have both the luminaries, the sun and moon, which typically give us a sense of brightness and lightness and clarity, both in their weakest positions. So quite obviously, this is a time that is dark. Now, we can use this time, just as I mentioned about bright stars being visible in the dark sky, in the night sky. We can use this time, this dark time, quote unquote, to find our divinity, in other words, to find that light within. Because when things are dark in our life, that's when we start asking deeper, more important questions. And where is that light? What is light? What does it reflect? It reflects our own inner divinity. It reflects our spiritual light. And as cliche as that might sound, it's the most important thing to acknowledge at this time of the year and at any time in your life where you're going through a challenging time. It's at those times that you start questioning, well, what am I here for? Like, who am I? And of course, in the Celtic calendar, we have Samhain, we have the celebration of Halloween. In Mexico, they celebrate the Day of the Dead. Whatever culture you belong to or follow, or whatever holiday you recognize, whatever festival, it is a time to recognize darkness. And however you manage that in your own life personally or in a celebration in your community, try not to get carried away with the sort of outer stuff. We can get so focused on the lights and forget that they are symbols of our own inner light again. But that we do need to light up the night. When people, especially other people around us, because Libra is very much about relationships, if other people around us are noticing this darkness and that we're managing it better, we could also think about helping other people and then shining our light, helping other people. And this is why Jyotish, the science of light, is so helpful at any time of year, but especially at this time of year. And I want to make mention of another transit that is shining a light, but an inner light. I mentioned the sun and moon, which represent the outer lights, as it were, the most obvious bright things in our sky. The third brightest is Venus, typically, which is itself not very strong right now. It's in its fall also. And another challenge in this equation. But then there's another light, in a sense. It might not be as bright in our night sky, but it itself is exalted in the moon sign, and that is the planet Jupiter. Jupiter has just moved into the moon sign Cancer, where it's exalted, where we feel into something and sense what is right and clear and true. And it's harder for us to get deceived, like it was in Gemini, where it's so easy to deceive and to confuse because you just talk a lot. But with Jupiter, it's more about listening and that wisdom from experience, that intuition also, that deeper sense of knowing what is right. This is kicking in stronger now. And in a way, this darkness, and again, revealing this light, but also this quietness, this going into ourselves, this kind of sinking down into this dark time of year and quietening down to really tune into what is right. Jupiter, when it's strong, typically will give us that sense of what we need to do next. When it's not strong, as it hasn't been of late, people are confused and they don't know what to do. And they seek advice from other people and maybe too many people and get even more confused. So this is a great time to have that inner silence, that stillness, and find the answer within and find that light and spark. There's another thing happening for this new moon, this dark moon, which is interesting. Maybe more interesting than meaningful in any way. We'll have to wait and see. And that is that there's a comet in our skies at this time. Now, we don't know how bright it's going to get after it's meeting with the sun. So it's perihelion, which is basically where it reaches the other side of the sun, so we can't see it. The sun is in the way, and it won't be visible until later in November, December. But the fact that it is on the other side of the sun, lining up with the moon, the sun, the earth for this particular new moon on October 21st, I do think is significant. And this 3-eye Atlas comet is telling something of this story. And it could be that even though we can't see it, there's something there. Typically, actually, Indian astrologers in ancient times would call these comets a Ketu. And then later on, Ketu was the name given to the south node of the moon. Ketu basically meaning a flag or a tail is another translation of Ketu. Comets have tails, and this particular tail of this comet is behaving very unusually. Its tail isn't going in the right direction. It's typical that you would see a tail moving away from the sun because of the rays of radiation from the sun. But in this case, it's actually moving towards the sun somehow. And so they don't understand why that's happening. But at any rate, this comet, and any comet, is a Ketu, is an omen of change. So depending on how it looks though, and there's a whole load of analyses of comets and how they appear in the night sky and where they appear from, and what colors they are and how bright they are. But typically, more than not, comets are seen as omens in a way that the word suggests, in a kind of negative way, that there is some omen of change and some ominous sort of event that's about to occur when we see them. Now, it might have already occurred because we've seen it since July, but whatever this comet represents, it's lining up with this new moon, this dark moon on this important night, is a sign in some way. Whatever that sign might be, it's a sign of change. And again, it's more important now to look within and to find out, with the help of Jupiter, what is the next step. So that is the new moon on October 21st, Diwali, the Festival of Lights. I wish you the very best for this new moon and this new month coming up. Things are looking dark in many ways on the surface of things, but again, don't forget that Jupiter, deeper within, there is a sense of hope, an optimism. As Jupiter, just to mention this for next month, as Jupiter stalls on November 11th within this lunar month and stops moving forward in exaltation, and in a way appears to go backtrack and sort of go back into debilitation in a way, and then actually does go back signs by December. Don't forget, whatever has been presented to you in this period, whatever opportunities have arisen outwardly, or even just the sense of what's possible inwardly, and hold on to that, because as it goes backwards, you'll need that in the next few months until Jupiter returns to Cancer by next year, and that won't be until June 1st, 2026. So it's really important now to dig deep and find that within yourself and hold on to that in the coming months. So again, I hope that's a bit of help. As always, I wish you the very best. Until next time.